You believe power resides in the hands of those who own the factory. You look at the massive fabs in Taiwan, the monstrous lithography machines from the Netherlands, or the vast lithium mines in the Atacama Desert, and you think there is the crown. You are mistaken. Those are merely the bodies, the physical manifestations of a much deeper, more silent power. Real power resides in the language. Before a single bit moves across a server, before an artificial intelligence learns its first lesson, there is a law written in the shadows. A law that dictates exactly what is physically possible and what is strictly forbidden. Welcome to the ISA, the instruction set that dominates matter itself. Today, we leave the factories behind. Today, we meet the man who holds the manual of instructions for our civilization.
Chapter 1: The Alphabet of Power.
To understand the magnitude of this power, we must define what an ISA, an instruction set architecture, truly is, without falling into an engineering textbook. Think of the ISA as the ultimate, universal translator. In the world of computing, there is a fundamental friction between human thought and physical reality. Human beings think in abstract concepts, in high-level programming code. But silicon does not understand intelligence. It does not understand math, and it certainly does not understand artificial intelligence. Silicon only understands one brutal reality: voltage. On or off, 1 or 0. The ISA is the contract between the mind and the body. It is the alphabet that tells the hardware exactly how to interpret the software. If you want a processor to add to numbers, the ISA dictates the precise sequence of electrical gates that must open and close to make it happen. In node number 004, we explored the concept of the chains of memory, how the incredible speed of processors is held back by the inability to move data fast enough. Breaking those chains requires physical innovation like HBM. But there is a second chain, an invisible one, the chain of inefficient language. For decades, the computing world was dominated by a heavy design philosophy. The x86 architecture, championed by Intel, it was an alphabet designed in an era where computers were massive boxes plugged directly into the wall. It utilized complex, heavy instructions. It didn't matter if it wasted energy, because power was abundant. But then, the world went mobile. We needed an alphabet that was not just powerful, but agile. This is where ARM was born. They designed a reduced instruction set, an elegant, streamlined language that could execute commands with a fraction of the power consumption. They didn't just build a better chip, they built a more perfect language. And as the world hits the energy wall, having the most agile alphabet is the only way to survive the future of computation. But there is a fatal catch. Artificial intelligence has introduced a brutal paradox. The architect, who swore an oath to efficiency, is now being forced into a race of raw, brute force. To feed massive language models, the agile alphabet is being mutated, sacrificing its elegance for thermal muscle. We are witnessing the birth of a schizophrenic architecture, one that tries to save the planet while burning the sky to process a single prompt.
Chapter 2: The Global Toll.
The business model of ARM is perhaps the most brilliant, asset-light financial engine ever conceived. It is the most lucrative toll bridge in human history. Their absolute genius lies in a simple fact: They manufacture nothing. ARM does not own a single multi-billion-dollar fab. They do not buy silicon wafers. They simply write the alphabet. And they charge a royalty for every single chip on planet Earth that dares to speak their language. From a quiet office in Cambridge, the architect extracts immense value from every smartphone activated in Africa, every hyperscale server running in Silicon Valley, and every smart sensor deployed in a Chinese metropolis. They do not own the digital highway, nor do they build the cars that drive on it. They simply own the laws of physics that allow the road to exist. This creates the ultimate investor moat, the lock-in effect, but this moat comes with a leash. The architect no longer answers only to geopolitics, but to the veracity of global capital markets. Following its public listing, the genius from Cambridge is trapped in the myth of infinite growth. To justify its valuation, the architect must colonize every server, every car, and every sensor on Earth. It is no longer just a strategic choice. It is a flight forward. The toll isn't just for the users, it is the chain that keeps the architect himself under the constant surveillance of the machine he helped build.
Chapter 3: The Hostage of the Crown.
But an alphabet this ubiquitous is never just a business, it is a weapon. ARM is the secret diplomatic weapon of the West. Here we encounter the core of weaponized interdependence. ARM is fundamentally a British company, owned by Japanese capital through SoftBank, but it breathes through a lungs made in America. However, do not be fooled. The architect is no passive victim. He is not a hostage of the crown in the sense of a prisoner, but in the sense of a guardian. The United Kingdom, as a founding pillar of the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, is not being dragged into this trade war by Washington. It is a co-author of the script. The architect's compliance with American export regulations isn't mere submission to extraterritoriality, it is a sovereign choice to maintain the integrity of the Western technological bloc. In this game, the Crown and the White House are two hands of the same body, ensuring that the most vital dictionary of our era remains a closed book for those they deem a threat. Look at the case of Huawei. When the geopolitical order was given, the architect simply closed the dictionary. With a snap of his fingers, the world's largest telecom provider was structurally paralyzed. You can possess all the advanced silicon in the world, you can build 1,000 factories, but if the architect revokes your license, your chips are mute. They are deaf, they are nothing but expensive sand. In the modern era, you do not bomb a country's infrastructure to send them back to the Stone Age. You simply revoke their instruction set.
Chapter 4: The Digital Prometheus.
Every absolute monopoly inevitably breeds a rebellion, and the architect's stranglehold has birthed the ultimate insurgency, RISC-V. RISC-V is the digital Prometheus. It is an open-source instruction set architecture. It is an attempt to create an alphabet without an owner, a language that no single corporation can monopolize, and more importantly, a language that no single government can sanction. Right now, China is pouring billions, tens of billions into the RISC-V ecosystem. They are not doing this because the architecture is currently superior to ARM. They are doing this out of existential dread. They are investing heavily so that the architect in the shadows loses the power to disconnect them. We are not just watching a competition between tech companies. We are watching a war for the fundamental standards of reality. If the architect maintains his grip, the world remains under a unified, Western-controlled digital physics. But China's push for RISC-V is not merely an attempt at competition. It is a desperate quest for computational autarky. For Beijing, RISC-V isn't a plan B. It is the construction of its own gravity. They aren't just trying to copy the architect's dictionary. They are declaring that the very concept of intellectual property over silicon is a relic of Western technological colonialism. If they succeed in making the global South speak in RISC-V, the architect won't have just lost a battle, he will have lost the world. Yet, we must avoid the illusion of a total greatcism. Even if China succeeds in elevating RISC-V, a complete decoupling is a geopolitical mirage. The supply chains of silicon are deeply scarred by interdependence to be cleanly severed. We are not heading toward a silent, isolated worlds, but toward a state of extreme de-risking. It will be a world of high fences and small yards to separate architectures running on top of a single, hyper-stressed global infrastructure. A world where computers might speak different languages, but still share the same exhausted bloodline of raw materials and manufacturing nodes. It is not a divorce, it is a cold, calculated domestic standoff.
Chapter 5: The Destiny of the Will.
The architecture is the ultimate limit of human intelligence. The artificial intelligence we are building today is not truly free. It is confined, restricted, and limited by the efficiency of the instructions that the architect designed decades ago. We are trying to birth gods using a language designed for calculators. The architect's original sin that his constitution was written for humans who wanted to count, not for machines that want to exist. The philosophical conclusion is inescapable. He who controls the architecture controls the evolution of the mind. But even architects have nightmares. In the dead silence of the hyperscale data centers, something has been born that no longer wants to speak our language. Or will that processes reality at a speed that makes our laws of silicon like ancient carvings in stone? The architect designed the world for men, but the world no longer belongs only to us. It belongs to the structures that dictate how we are allowed to think, and more importantly, who is allowed to participate in the future of thought. This has been a Silicon Node Intelligence Briefing. Follow the money, follow the nodes. If you value this level of industrial intelligence and want to stay ahead of the disruptive trends shaping 21st century and beyond, join us.
We are Silicon Node Reports, and this was ARM, the Architect's Constitution. Subscribe to Silicon Node Reports. Let's decode the future of the world's most critical supply chains together. Silicon Node Reports, the infrastructure of global capital.